Uh, What is up? Happy Thirsty Thursday. Today, we are going to have a very, very, very special treat. We're going to talk about stepping into your authentic truth, making the magic happen, getting over your fear, and really just showing up as who you actually authentically are. And I am super excited. Thank you so much for watching, listening. It means the world to me. For those who don't know, I am your host, Tiara, aka T, your wine diva. I love to share sips and tips for you to live your best life, have more fun, and just really enjoy being who you actually are. Hello, Melissa. How are you today? So we record this podcast, live video podcast broadcast live every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I am super excited for today's guest, who we have the lovely Angela Kaye joining us. So I'm going to bring her up here next to me. There she is. So
hello.
Can you please introduce yourself, say who you are and what you do? And while you do that, I'm going to pour myself a glass of red blend this evening and in my fun Harry Potter glass, because I have my best witchy friend here today, the Creatrix in the house.
I love that, T. I love that the fact that you're having a nice red wine tonight. Hey, everyone. How are you? So I am Angela. I am the Creatrix. I love helping people tap into their inner healer, what I call our Creatrix that's inside of us. I do that by helping people learn about and teaching about ancient healing practices and modern healing modalities and blending them together so that you have a toolkit of resources that you can use, which means you can tap in and pull those resources out as necessary, as you want to change something or transform something or heal something in your life, right? I'm also the creator and founder of the Sacred Terrapin Space, which is a sacred sisterhood for women where they can learn more about these healing practices and what I call magic, which is changing or manipulating energy. And I'm also the creator and founder of a new virtual witchy school called the Creatrix Coven, which is a little like going to Hogwarts.
Love it. And that's why I have my Harry Potter glass.
T, thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it. I love being able to talk about magic.
Thank you so much for coming on. I love doing dual lives with you. It's always amazing and so much friggin' fun. So can you talk about how long have you been coaching and guiding other people?
Yeah, for sure. I got my first certification for coaching when I was actually in grad school. I was studying something completely different and then decided I was going to add a graduate certificate in integrative holistic health. And I learned about life coaching there and then got the certificate in 2008. So I've been coaching since 2008. When I was a mom, I took a little time off and focused on being a mom, but I'm still a mom. You know what I mean? When there were kids at home. But I love being a coach. And I've been doing it for a decade. That's crazy to think about.
Wow. A decade. Wow. That is amazing. And we're about to embark on a whole new decade. So do you have anything exciting planned or thought out for 2020 in the 20s? The roaring 20s. I love it. I'm excited.
Ooh, I love that too. The roaring. We need to bring that back, T.
I'm so excited.
Yes, absolutely. So I, in October, launched that witchy school, which has been brewing inside of me. So I'm excited for that in 2020 and continuing to help more people tap into their magic. And then I'm also super excited. I have my first challenge, which I'll be doing inside the Sacred Terrapin Space, which is a free challenge, free community for people. And it will be a challenge to help people tap into their magic and really develop a little bit of a practice to help them learn how magic can literally change their lives.
That is amazing. So you weren't always talking about magic and being witchy. So can you talk a little bit about what kind of guided you to this place where you're able to really show up as who you authentically are?
Yeah, for sure. So you're right. I have not always talked about being witchy, and I've been going live for almost 2 years now. And I started out only talking about the coaching portion of it, right? There's so much that we can talk about, but I felt like something was missing, and I didn't feel like I was being what we refer to as like my true authentic self, right? I didn't feel like I was totally showing up and shining my light the way that I could and the way that I knew I wanted to. And from the time I was 14, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. From the time I was 14, I knew that I was a witch, but the first time that I said it out loud, I was told that we don't use those words, right? Like that, like I was taught, like witch is a bad word. And so despite the fact that I felt it, and despite the fact that I knew it, and despite the fact that when I went to college, I started learning more and more about it, and despite the fact that I'd been taught in my family all of the practices, I had this idea that I couldn't say the word.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that there would be negative connotations attached to it, the fact that there would be judgment attached to it, and the fact that if I wanted to be professional and have a business, I couldn't say this thing even though I know it was true about myself. And I've gone through some transitions in my life. I was married, I got divorced, and when I really realized that I had recreated my life after that divorce, when I essentially started completely over with nothing, right? Like half a car full of things. When I realized that I can do anything. And when I was in the coaching school with Virginia, getting another certification for coaching, and I was learning about the zone of genius, just because we're good at something, we can even be excellent at it. It's not our genius. And it clicked. And I realized, right, that in doing this, that talking about these witchy things, and I'd kind of dipped my toes in, but that was my zone of genius. There's a reason that my entire life I've felt like I want to go to Hogwarts, that I felt like I wanted to have a witchy business. And this is what I'm incarnated in my body to do.
Excuse me. That is amazing. That is so beautiful. So can you talk about a little bit about how it felt when you weren't truly talking about all the witchiness? Because I feel like there's so many entrepreneurs out there and so many people out there that have these little things inside them. Like they have these little voices that are telling them to do something, but because the world around, it's not the norm. It's not, they've been told that whatever it is that they're really, really into is bad, or it's not going to be. Like from the actor standpoint, I've been told so many times in my life that I would never make money as an actor. So like, how does that make you feel when you weren't really living in where you truly wanted to be?
So I would have to start with the fact of asking those people, right? The people who are potentially listening, asking them, what does it mean to follow your authentic truth? What does it mean to truly be you? And what is that going to feel like? Because for me, when I was not doing it, I felt like I was hiding part of myself. I felt like there were two Angelas, and one was living a secret life. And it didn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It did not feel good to feel like this thing that was so essential to the core of my being and I knew was a part of myself, that I had to keep it a secret. It felt shameful. And if there's one thing I know as a coach, it's that we have to release shame, we have to release fear, and that on the other side of those things, on the other side of fear, on the other side of contrast that's holding us back from something amazing, there's so much more abundance. And I knew that if I was welcoming, and by accepting, I was welcoming fear into my life, fear of judgment, fear of shame, fear of all these things. If I was welcoming that I was never going to be able to get to where I wanted to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was depressing, super depressing, right? That I was allowing these things to hold me back. So for me, it was a natural choice that I had to choose something different.
Yes. So as you were working through like truly stepping into your creatrix self, what are like some tips that you can share with people that might be like, you know what, I think I am working in my zone of like excellence, but I'm not in my zone of genius. How can I truly step into my genius?
So my first tip would be to ask what it is that you feel like is holding you back. What it like, if you know there's this other place you can go, if you know that there's this other desire or dream inside of you, this thing that you want to reach for, asking yourself what it is that's holding you back and why. So for a lot of people, it is a fear of others in some way. Maybe it's a fear of what others are going to think if we do it. Maybe it's a fear of what others are going to think if we fail, because fear of failure is huge. But ask yourself what that fear is. And when you get to what that fear is, ask yourself what it's going to feel like if you don't have that fear. If you can get to the point of being able to at least imagine an imaginary life, if you will, where you didn't have that fear, and then you can visualize and really start to feel what it would be like to live in that life, there's not going to be any more question. The second tip I would give is to think about and even make a literal list of people in your life. 3 lists. People who will support you no matter what you do, even if you jump into this other thing. Another list of people who absolutely will not, absolutely could not ever accept this thing. And then the third list, the people in between that you're not sure about, or that who might accept it but might not fully embrace it. I want you to look at that list of people who you believe could not ever accept it, and ask yourself what role they have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if they, what role are they serving if they're helping you in your life, right? So for me, that was even my family. And admitting the fact that my family, right, might not accept the fact that I come out with this label was terrifying. But it was more terrifying to think that I might not be able to live that life that I knew I could if I didn't do this thing. And when I really started to think about some of the other people on that list that wouldn't accept it, what they were breathing in, their energy coming into my life, wasn't something I really wanted in my life anyways, and it was time to release.
Yes. I love the list, because I feel like when you have something like that tangible in front of you, you can really see, like, okay, these are the people that mean the most to me. And a lot of times they usually align with like the people that are going to 100% support anything and everything that you do. Oh, Stacia said a good way, cut the fat. I have this list, and it's like, who am I allowing to speak into my life? Like, there are different aspects of my life that I allow different people into, but like in terms of like business, like, am I going to let the person that's never had a business, never like done social media, never done any of these things, tell me that I'm doing it wrong, or tell me that I'm not doing the right thing? No, I'm going to look at these other people. Like I have different people that I will allow to speak different things into my life, into my spirit. And I think that's pretty much the same thing. Create that list of who are you going to allow to speak into whatever it is that you want to do and talk to you about it, because those are usually the people that are going to support you and love you for who you are. And that's going to allow you to let your true self shine. You were talking a little bit about fear of failure, but I wanted to hear a little bit about, maybe like fear of success, because when we step into a space where we are not necessarily like, seen as the norm, or we're doing something so crazy that not most of our people know what we're doing, okay, that's failure is like, all right, that's awful. We did this thing, we tried it, but then we can go and hide in our little hidey hole and not like have to show up ever again. But what if we succeed? And then we have to like continue to like keep this name and keep this space. Like, can you speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing I want to say when you were talking about that, what I felt like, what immediately came, what I call a download, right? What immediately came was, right? Is that fear that's there, that fear of success, is it possible that I could be happy?
Mm.
Is it possible I could be happy? Because we can make up all the things in our head when we think about, like, right, if I'm successful doing this thing, when I'm successful doing this thing, what's it going to look like? And we can come up with a whole list of reasons to try to convince ourselves not to. But we have to ask ourselves, right, like, is it worth it to us? Is it worth it to us to potentially embrace those things? So for myself, I was terrified, right? Terrified of calling myself a witch. Anyone watching this broadcast or hearing this podcast understands the fact that there's a connotation to witch in our society.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew being on social media, the bigger that I got, the more attention I was going to get and the more of that I was going to get. Right? Potentially. But I also knew that I have the ability to manifest whatever I want into my life. So I chose not to focus on the fear, whether it's fear of success or whether it's fear of failure. We can't focus on the fear. We have to focus on how amazing it's going to be, especially, T, you know this, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we have to focus on the good because we have to feel the good. We have to recognize, we have to see the good in our lives. We have to focus on that because that's what's going to fuel us to get us through. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have to focus on the joy, focus on the happy, and not like just, I'm going to be happy when XYZ happens, but like being happy right now, right here in the journey, because that journey is going to become like that much more easeful and like shorter when we can find joy right now. So I feel like we also could talk a little bit about like what is happy, because happy could be $1 million to some people, but like in the grand scheme of things, that's not necessarily like financial success isn't the end all be all of true joy and true happiness and true success.
When we need things outside of ourselves to be happy, that's not real happiness. Here's the thing. We can't control the outside world. We can manifest, but the only thing we can truly control is ourselves, is our feelings. And so if I need $1 million to be happy, if I need to be a famous witch to be happy, if I need my coven school, which I love, to be happy, there's going to be a problem because things can happen in life. Life happens. Happiness comes from within you. Happiness comes from being able to recognize the gratitudes and the joy in everyday moments, no matter what's going on around you. That is where we get happiness from.
Yes, that is where we get happiness from. And you can be so much more happy when you're being exactly who you are.
Amen.
Yes. Okay. So a question I have about like from your witchy school and what you do. So is there a difference between being a witch and a Wiccan? I know, like, I remember like Charmed and all these other shows on TV. There's like a lot of different thoughts behind what magic is, and can you define that for us?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say yes, there's a difference between being a witch and being Wiccan. Wiccan is a religion, just like Christianity, just like Judaism, just like Islam, right? Like there's all, and Wiccan is a way of looking at the world, and religion in general is a way of perceiving the world, seeing our place in the world, understanding what our purpose is in the world, understanding what divine energy is showing up, understanding our relationship with divine energy, etc. So Wicca is a system of understanding or religion. Being a witch is practicing magic. So my shirt says making magic happen, right? I love to teach people to practice magic. Now, this looks like a lot of different things, but in the end, what magic is, what practicing magic is manipulating energy. So if you're someone who prays, you're manipulating energy. You're raising the vibration of the earth. If you're someone who practices law of attraction and manifesting, you believe, right, that you can manipulate energy. It's the same thing. It's using healing tools like herbs and sage and Palo Santo and crystals and moon water and moon energy and all of the things and learning about them, right? That's each of those is its own like specialization. Understanding how you can use those things and intention to manipulate energy. That's being a witch.
Ooh, yeah. I love that. I love that. So for anyone that might be interested in learning a little bit more about becoming a witch, where do you recommend that they start?
Well, selfishly, I would recommend the coven. But beyond going to the coven, right? And what I like about the coven is that I was always so confused, not about being a witch, but confused by the fact that there's like thousands of books. There's thousands of influencers. There's thousands of things we can watch and things we can learn. And it can be very overwhelming. So what I love about the Coven is that it's a systematic way of doing it that takes a little piece at a time. But beyond that, I would recommend that they choose one person. If you're just starting out, choose one person that you resonate with. Don't choose the person who has the name. Don't choose the person who someone else told you have to read their book. Choose one person who you resonate, either with their writing or with the way that they deliver the material, and start to follow them and see, does it feel good to you? And don't be afraid to try things on and then take them off. What I mean by that is, so you want to be a witch or you want to learn to work magic, try moon magic. Maybe it's going to resonate with you and maybe it's not. You won't have lost anything. You will have gained experience and you will have gained the clarity for yourself, and continue to dip in and try different things, right? Try feeling crystals. Try going to a crystal shop and seeing how it feels. Try oracle cards. Try smudging. Try all of the things. See what feels good. Just like when you go to a store and you try on clothes, you don't bring it all home with you. Well, not usually. You don't have to bring all of the magic practices home with you.
Yes. Okay. So for someone who is looking to have a practice and being, making sure that they are consistently speaking their truth and staying their authentic selves, what is something that they could do every day, like a just small thing that they could do every day to help them get on that path?
Meditate and ground. So when I talk about grounding, I talk about literally putting your feet on the earth and feeling that connection. Meditating and grounding, the connection between meditating and working magic is this. Magic has to have intention. You have to know exactly why you're doing something. You have to know exactly why you're using any of the tools you have with you, whether it's herbs or crystals or Palo Santo or calling on moon energy or charging moon water, whatever it is. You have to have that crystal clear intention in order for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
Meditating helps us learn to clear our mind and focus our thoughts. So the number one most important thing I could recommend is ground yourself, which means get really connected, get in your body, and then practice focusing your thoughts, whether it's a guided meditation and you focus on following the audio, right, and going somewhere, or whether it's focusing on clearing your mind of all the thoughts and focusing on your breath, because magic also requires us to be able to have that focus, and that is a super important practice.
I love that. I love that. All right. So is there anything else that you would like to leave our audience with? And then as Angela's coming up with her final thoughts, if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask, please drop them below and we can get them answered as well.
My final thought for people is, and I try to do this myself, right? We're all human, but this is what I try to do, which is to lead with love. When we lead with love, fear doesn't have a place in our world. Fear of the unknown, fear of things that we've been told false ideas about, potentially being a witch, fear about other people, fear of possibilities in the future. When we choose love, and we have to continue to choose love. We don't choose it once. We have to continue in every moment, in every situation, choose love. That's how we get where we want to go.
All right. Follow up to that. What does choosing love look like?
Choosing love looks like taking a breath, pausing, allowing yourself. We live in a society that wants us to rush, that wants us to do things instantly right now, and allowing yourself and respecting yourself enough to take a pause, a breath. Maybe that's just 3 seconds. Maybe that's saying, I love you, right? You love other people. I love you. And because I love you, I need 10 minutes to gather my thoughts and figure out how I feel about this. But allowing yourself to take a pause and ask yourself if you are reacting, thinking in a way that's aligned with love, or if it's aligned with something like fear or some other emotion. And then if you discover that it's something else, allowing yourself to take that pause and choose to feel something different, choose to see the positive in a situation, choose to find a gratitude in a situation, choose to focus on what you do like about someone or a situation instead of whatever is upsetting in some situations. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, that makes total sense. I love that. That's amazing. Yes. Yes, like Julie says, take a sacred pause. There is so much goodness and amazingness that can happen in that moment. in that silence. Silence can be so golden and so precious. And like you said, we live in a world that is super busy and everyone's trying to do all of the things that taking a moment to be able to just breathe, center yourself, and really become more self-aware of how you're feeling and how you really truly want to respond can really solve a whole lot of problems in relationships and all of the things. It's amazing, and meditation is also going to help a lot with that. Yes. Oh, that's so good. So I highly, highly recommend anyone that is on this journey of becoming more self-aware, learning to be a witch and utilizing magic and energy and law of attraction and all of that good stuff. Maybe you're looking to grow your business. I highly recommend all of these things to get a coach. I really do. I recommend that you talk to someone one-on-one that's been on this journey, that is continuing their journey and always readily looking to learn and improve on themselves. And I highly recommend Angela as someone to speak to. So if someone would like to get to know you a little bit more, figure out a little bit more about what you do and how to get your coaching, how can they find you? Where's the best place to go?
Either Facebook on my profile or at Angela Kaye Intuitive Coaching, or they can go to my website at www.creatrixcoaching.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right. So I've taken up a lot of your time, and I appreciate all of you who have watched, listened, and all of that good stuff. Thank you so, so much. I love you, love you, love you lots.
Thank you so much, T.
All right. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Good night, everyone.